A thematic commentary on the Qur'an by Sheikh Muhammad al-Ghazali, translated from the Arabic by Ashur A. Shamis and revised by Zainab Alawi. May Allah bless them all. Surah number 2, Surah al-Baqarah, part 3. When Islam first emerged, the elders of the Jewish community in Arabia received it with cynicism, denial and disdain, since they believed in their God-given monopoly of a religion, and in the notion that after their race, religion would never be revealed to any other human group. When the Muslim immigrated from Mecca to Medina, Islam became too close for comfort for some Jews who were already settled there. They resolved to fight it by all available means and to scheme against its followers. Prophet Muhammad offered them a charter as a code of conduct for their relationship with the Muslim and other inhabitants of the area. The agreement was based on peace and mutual cooperation. It seems that the local Jews accepted the agreement with reluctance, for they continued to deride the new religion, to lobby against it in a hostile manner, and to undermine its veracity and stability. Meanwhile, the Quranic revelation also continued with the relentless scolding and rebuke of certain Jewish attitudes in the past. However, this had little effect in subduing the more recent arrogance or softening hardened heart. The detractors persisted in their belief in the exclusivity of the religion and in the assertion that God could not and should not have chosen prophets from outside their race. The Quran rejects all their claim, querying their denials of the new religion which endorsed, supported, and blessed what has been revealed to their forefathers. We read in the Surah, "And when it was said to them, 'Believe in what God had revealed,' they reply, 'We only believe in what was revealed to us.' But they deny what had since been revealed, although it is the truth, corroborating what they had already received. Say, why did you then kill the prophets of God if you were true believers?" Ayat 91. The surah lists over 10 different reminders of this kind in the hope that the Jews of Medina would heed God's advice and come to their senses. While these reminders might not have dissuaded Jewish zealots from pursuing their policy, they were extremely instructive for the Muslims themselves and served as a warning to them. God had said to the Jews, "Keep my covenant and I shall keep yours." Ayat 40. And he advised the Muslims, saying, "Remember me, and then I shall remember you. Be thankful to me, and do not deny me. Believers, seek help in patience and prayer." Ayat 152 and Ayat 153. It is saying to the Muslim that whereas other groups had clung to the outward form of their religion but ignored its essence and true spirit and drained it of its authentic universal meaning, they, the Muslim, should look into the hearts and the essence of their religion and live it with sincerity and true faith. The surah puts it thus: righteousness does not come about by turning your face towards the east or the west. It is the belief in God and the last day. Ayat 177. The surah then gets down to the task of laying the solid ground on which the new community was to emerge and grow. It outlines the 5 basic foundations or pillars of Islam and turns to dealing with Muslim family affairs, giving many of the principles on which they should be established, strengthened, and preserved. From time to time, references to narrow-minded or rebellious attitude by previous groups and nations serve as a timely, if oblique, warning to the Muslims themselves. To whoever tampers with God's boon after it had been bestowed on him, God would mete out a severe chastisement. Ayat 211. The surah also deals with the question of protecting the larger community by means of sacrifice and hard work, Arabic for jihad, as well as protecting the smaller one, the family unit, with a number of rules and provisions that ensure its health, safety and welfare, two counts on which we the Muslim has unfortunately been so negligent. Let us for the time being leave the family issue aside and deal briefly with the subject of war and the manner in which the Quran has presented it, contending in the process with some persistent misconception about jihad. We Muslims abhor war and dislike the destruction and loss of life it causes. Our natural disposition and tendency favor peace, harmony, and stability among relatives, neighbors, and friends. However, while condoning and encouraging these tendencies, the Quran also says, much as you dislike it, fighting has been prescribed for you. But you may despise something that is good for you, and you may love something that is bad for you. God knows, but you do not know. Ayat 216. Peace is to be welcomed when rights are protected and beliefs are respected. But if peace means abject surrender and subjugation, it cannot be easily defended on morals or realistic grounds. This delicate balance is well presented in the verse. They ask you whether fighting is permitted during the sacred month. Say, fighting in it is a grave matter. Ayat 217. Meaning it is not permitted. However, what should be done if aggression is perpetrated, terrorizing peaceful communities and jeopardizing their rights of worship and beliefs? Should not aggression be repelled in order to protect one's right? The verse continues, but to deny God and to debar people from His path and prevent them from worshipping the holy mosque and to drive its inhabitants away is far more grave in the sight of Allah. Ayat 217. In short, sedition, that is in Arabic min fitnah, is a greater threat than killing. Ayat 217. And fighting or armed resistance should be permitted in defense of our integrity and beliefs. However, in circumstances in which we are faced with enemies who will not be satisfied until we forsake our religion and way of life and adopt theirs, defensive action becomes obligatory, and the blame for instigating the conflict will not fall on us but on those who were the cause of it. These introductory remarks enable us to appreciate fully the meaning of the following verse. Fight for the cause of God, those who fight against you, but do not commit aggression, because God does not love the aggressors. Ayat 190. This is an eternal principle, and everything else the Quran has to say on this subject agrees with it. Some commentators have been erroneously misled into believing that Surah Al-Tawbah contains injunctions that contradict this principle. The command given in that surah to undertake to fight back does not, however, prescribe fighting against fair-minded, neutral or reasonable people. It condones it against groups who have grudges against the Muslim and are actively undermining their peace and security and inflicting harm upon them. That is the reason for the Quran's condemnation that evil is what they, the unbelievers, have done. They respect no pacts or agreements with the believers, and they are the aggressors. Surah Al-Tawbah, Ayat 9 and to Ayat 10. Furthermore, the Quran emphasizes the need to confront those aggressors in a just and clean fight by asking, would you not fight against those who have broken their oath and conspired to drive the messengers out and attack you first? Do you fear them? Surely you should fear God instead, if you are true believers. Surah Al-Tawbah, Ayat 13. It is difficult to see how this can be seen as prescribing waging wars against those who do not commit aggression, or that it overrides the principle given in Surah al-Baqarah, which states clearly that fighting is undertaken only in response to aggression. This, when propounded by some Muslims, is at best a misunderstanding, and at worst an objectionable undermining of eternal Islamic principles, inviting noxious charges against Islam, for which we have only ourselves to blame. Here it is worth stressing that the Quran prescribes legitimate defensive war on condition that it is undertaken for the cause of God and not for personal glory, nor to gain a special advantage. Nor should wars be prescribed for the sake of vainglorious and bigoted nationalist interest to prove that a particular country is supreme and master of all. Wars conducted in recent times has been organized to usurp the wealth and the resources of weaker nations, and to colonize and control their lands and destinies for the benefit of strong and mighty ones. Far from being just wars fought in the name of God, they are true works of evil. Wars are said to be conducted for God's cause when they are fought to uphold God's supremacy and drive out godless powers. True believers have always undertaken such proper fighting in order to keep alive the belief in the worship of the one God. The surah asks, "Who is more wicked than those who forbid God's name being invoked in his mosque and seeks to destroy them?" Ayat 114. The Quran observes, "And if God had not enabled people to defend themselves against one another, corruption will surely overwhelm the earth. But God is limitless in his bounty unto all the worlds." Ayat 251. Indeed, right can only triumph and become firmly established when those who defend it are selfless, brave, and totally devoted to uphold and preserve it. Subhanallah, walhamdulillah, wa la ilaha illallah, wallahu akbar, wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-aliyyil azim, wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-aliyyil azim, wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-aliyyil azim.
You organize wine tasting in your bloody hotel. So we, malu dia. Oh, kakak lah cakap buat. And you know that his friends from RFC, used to tell me that. Dia pasal dia, ayo, orang ada bakatku, juga ni. But then when you went over there, you see the whole problem about religious morality. So, this normalization, what is not just a crime. See, when you expose your intellect, you have to, but not boleh itu something that menjejak your life. Like if you drink, if you drink in quantity, you affected nya affected. So then after what? What a big deal. I mean, this is the attitude of
you met?
To a point.
Up to a point.
Oh, ni dua tu.
Apa?
Bukan.
Ini gambar.
Bukan.
Okay, Tan Sri, you turun Muta. I want to go up and get the bird. Bird punya sound.
Yeah.
I'll join you in 15 minutes time. Ah.